What's up guys, this is Casey with another tutorial, and we're going to be talking about using Gimp with Blender again. This is going to be a part 2. There's a few little odds and ends that I wanted to show you that you can use Blender for, but I like to use Gimp for. So I figured why not do a tutorial, just in case you guys don't really know that you can do it in Gimp, because it's actually really quite easy. Okay, so let me go ahead and open my picture. It's called Robot, and here it is. Now I made this image in Blender, and it is not my best work, at least I don't think so, but I was inspired by another picture that I saw that was similar, but I tried to take a different turn to it. So I've got this sort of cartoon girl down here, and she's crying because her robot is broken and fell apart. And I thought it was cool, but once I rendered it out, I really couldn't think of any way to easily add more detail to it. So this is the result that I got, which is kind of boring. So I figured why not pop it into Gimp and see if I can, make some changes, if I can improve it any. Because sometimes pictures that look kind of plain and boring and normal, they just need a little bit of work, a little touch-up work to them. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to add a background, like a sky image to the background here. So I'm going to File, Open as Layers, and let's see, recently used, here we go. There's my sky. Obviously it is humongous. So I want to move that layer down, and I want to scale it. Now I'm hitting this chain right here, making sure that it's connected so that it keeps my aspect ratio, so it's not all stretched and skewed. And then I'm just going to scale it down. Let's go right about here for now. We might have to scale it again. Here we go. Now I'm going to use my move tool, move the active layer, and right about here. Right there. Okay, it needs to scale down a little bit more. Something right about there. Scale that. And then we're just going to move it back to where we wanted it. Something like that. Okay, so I now have a background, which is cool. It doesn't necessarily fit with this picture as much as I would like. There are a few things wrong with it. One, I feel like the sun is coming in from this side, whereas in my Blender image you can see this part here is like shining and the shadows coming this way. That means the sun's pointing from over here, whereas in the clouds it's over here. So it's a little detail, but I'm just going to flip the image. So flip, horizontal. Oh, I went the wrong picture. I wanted the clouds. Just like that. So now it should match up. This should be, the sun is above the clouds and it's kind of pointing from the upper right, which is what I want. Okay, so that was easy. That's how you can add a background image in Gimp instead of using Blender. You can do it in Blender, but I just like to do it in Gimp. It's just easier. I know my way around this, around Gimp a little better than Blender's nodes, so I like to do it in here. Okay, so anyways, there's a few more issues. First of all, this sand color, I don't like it. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have desaturated it or changed it a bit when I was in Blender, but I didn't. So how do we fix it? Well, we're going to have to desaturate our entire image, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Colors and hue saturation. And we're just going to bring this way, way down. Something like 42, 43, 45. Let's see, 45 should do it. And I'll click OK. So that still gives me a little bit of my red color here, which is nice. Still gives me a little bit of my blue color on her clothes, which is good. But it gets rid of that kind of annoying brown color from the sand. So I think that's about right. Alright, So the next thing I think I want to do is actually change the color of the clouds. I don't know why I want to do that. Maybe I shouldn't. I mean, the blue kind of matches the blue on her shirt. I don't know. I'm going to change it anyways. Let's try it. Let's go color balance, and I'm going to add some reds. Let's add there in the midtones, add a little bit of red to the highlights, and a little bit of blue to the shadows. Okay, it's getting there. Add a little bit more red to it. A little bit more red here. And a little bit more blue for the shadows. Okay, that's probably right where I want it. Yeah. Okay, so now this, I've basically just given it a slight red tint, which I feel like goes a little bit better with this sort of dusty, sandy look. And it also gives the picture a little bit of a different feel to it. Colors can be really, really important when making an image. They can help you feel certain emotions and things that you want people to feel in a picture. So make sure that you play around with the colors and see which ones look good for your image that you're trying to do. Okay, so let's see, what else do I have here? Let's do a little bit of color balance for the robot picture. And I'm going to do a little bit of red for that one as well. Let's make the whole image a little red. Shadow, make sure the shadow is the opposite, so that's blue. It might need just a little bit more. Little bit more. Let's say 8, 9, 10. Let's try 10. That might be blowing it out just a bit. 10 and shadows, 10 blue. That's not bad. I'll keep that. Okay, so in just a matter of a couple minutes here, I've made this background, and we've corrected the lighting issue, we've corrected a bad color issue, and we've turned the entire image basically to a warm color, which gives a calming feeling, which is kind of what I want here, I guess. So I think my next step is I want to actually make this a little more artistic. So I'm going to go to my filters, artistic filter, and use the oilify. And I want to focus a lot on the character, the girl character, because she's important. So I'm going to lower this down and raise this up. So the mask size, if you decrease it, you will get less oily parts to it. If you increase it, you get more, and the exponent will make it sharper or a little more blurry. So I'm turning the exponent up, but I'm turning the mask size down. So now you can see I still have a lot of my detail, but it still looks like a painting, which is what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it'll work, and it's working, and it's loading, and it's done. And you can kind of see what it looks like here, where we've got, it almost just looks like a painting somebody did with like watercolors or oil or something, which is, I mean, that's why it's called oilify. It makes it look like an oil painting. Surprise, that's what it's for. Okay, I like it. It doesn't get rid of a lot of my detail, but it makes it look just a lot cleaner to me and looks a little more artistic, a little less boring, which is good. Now I need to do the same thing to my sky. So filters, artistic, and oilify. Now this one, I actually want to increase that mask size. I don't know why, but clouds are really hard to turn oily. Let's see, let's turn that exponent to about an 8. We'll turn our mask size to a 10. And here we go. And it's working. And it's done. There we go. So just like that, I've got some nice oil painting clouds. And a little bit of oil painting here. So I guess my next step would be I would like to add a vignette. I'm gonna add a new layer and grab my ellipse tool, pull it right down here to the corner of my image, like that. Now if I hit Control I, that inverts my selection. So instead of selecting this part, I'm selecting these outside parts. And then I'm just going to fill it in with black. Okay, so the next part here is going to be to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I want it to be really crazy, like 150, like this. But I don't want it to be so pronounced. I just want it to be subtle. So up here in the, whatever this tab's called, the, what? I can't think today. The Layers tab, the Layers toolbar, there we go. Duh, man. I'm just going to lower this opacity down. Low. 26, 27, 28, 28. 28 looks good. So basically all I did was just add a little bit of shadow to the outside edge. Unless you're really looking hard, you probably wouldn't be able to tell it was there, especially without looking at the original image. But it helps direct your focus more towards the middle of the picture, which is what I want. I know for a fact when using Blender that I have my rule of thirds line set up to be intersecting one right on her face, and the other is like somewhere up here in the clouds. So I kind of have big object close to camera, and then it gets further smaller until we're in the sky. So perspective is important, and colors are important, and making sure that you outline, you have the focus of the picture set. Everything that you do in these pictures there is important. Okay, so I think that just about does it. You could probably play around with a couple more settings if you wanted to, make it a little bit different, but that's basically all I've got for you. I managed to turn a fairly boring picture that I made in Blender into something at least alright. I mean, it's not bad. I don't think so. Maybe you guys think so. I don't know. Anyways, I was just playing around, so yeah, I hope you guys learned a little bit about using Gimp. I should mention that almost all of these effects that I just did in Gimp can be done in Blender. I'm sure somebody out there is going to be like, well, I always use Blender, it's so much easier in Blender. Yeah, if you say so. It can be easier. There are certain times that you can't use Gimp. However, I like to use Gimp whenever possible. It feels easier to me. I like to do things visually. I like to be able to see my results instantly and not have to wait for a render and all that good stuff. So argue with me if you want. Okay, so I hope you guys learned a little bit, and thank you for watching.